Welcome to the Bellino Shots podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Marco.
And I'm Lauren, and we are here today with our special guest, Clara Bellino.
Are you with a performance rights organization? How is it working out for you?
Yes, I am, Marco. I am with BMI, and I have been for 27 years, I think. And I was introduced to BMI through, I had a lead role in a film where they used some of my songs. I played a singer who travels to Japan, and then they asked me to write a song for the film. And I also sang it in Japanese, which I don't speak. Anyway, it was an independent black and white film, and they were really about doing things the right way. So they told me that the only way they could include the songs is if I signed up with a PRO. And at the time I was working for a manager who was good friends with the then president of BMI, and Rick Riccobono was his name, and he and I had a couple dinners together, and he made sure that I got recruited by BMI rather than ASCAP, and that's how I ended up with
Relatable.
Yeah, and and it was fun, and I was learning about all this. And so how is it working for me? It's been really helpful. I still occasionally collect royalties for the songs in that film, not so much anymore. I also since then have placed a song on a TV series that actually may be coming back, called Nash Bridges with Don Johnson, and they used a piece of my song in a background episode, and so the royalties are dwindling from that. So how is it working? I think it's really important to have a PRO. I think, as you have mentioned, it's the closest thing we have to some representation between us and the people who use our music. I think these days it's a struggle to have that respected. And final thing I'll say about that is I did an interview, I think last year, with the Copyright Alliance. And my best way of saying it is, like, to me, if you go to a store to buy a cake, you pay for the cake. If you want to use my music, you got to pay something. It's kind of like that's what I make. Bakers make cakes, I make music. And somehow it's got to be negotiated. And so yeah, I think I'm really grateful to be with BMI, and I'm always part of the movement that helps people educate people and understand that we as musicians provide an important part of people's life enjoyment and all the different things that it does for people. And so there's no reason we shouldn't be represented and taken
Exactly.
care of.
No taxation without representation.
There you go. Just like that.
Yeah. We still love you, ASCAP, very much. Please don't hate us. Yeah.
No, I actually co-wrote a song with somebody from ASCAP, and we made that work too. No, we're good. We're good.
This is all fascinating. We keep referring to these rights, and do we really have rights as musicians?
Well, we are a working class. Most of us are even more so right now. Lucky if we're, well, it's not about luck, but most independent musicians aren't making a bunch of money. And sometimes that's the response from people who are like, hey, you're doing fine. It's like, no, actually, I don't come to your place of work and say, give me what you're doing. And so do we have rights? I think we have the rights that we defend. We need to stand up for our rights, because I think more people now are listening to music than ever before. And yet I don't even blame the fans for that, although they participate, but there is this, for some people, they have no idea that they're just so used to music being free that they're like, it should just be the way it is. It's like, well, I think it's important we defend our rights, because if we want to create music of quality, it does cost money. I don't care what people say. It's like, just because you can have an app in your closet to make music, that's not how quality, not that nothing good has ever come out of closets, but when you record an album in a studio with real musicians, it still costs money. And so the ability to do that comes with people who enjoy music also supporting, paying for the enjoyment of listening to it.
Makes so much sense that our art would be regulated. Maybe we should talk about this in another chapter.
I would love to. And so for all of you listening, thank you, Marco, for your great questions. And for you, the listener, please let us know, what you'd like us to talk about. And you can do so by tweeting us at Claratone Records Team with the hashtag Bellino Shots. That was the invention of Marco Muner. And so Bellino Shots, put the hashtag there, and your episode suggestion, whatever you would like us to talk about, we'd be happy to do so. And the ones that we'll end up working on will get you a shout out, obviously, and a retweet. And we look forward to connecting with you. So thanks so much for being on and these great questions today, Marco. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Let's take a quick intermission break and we'll be right back.
Okay, we are here today with Alec, who is another team member of Claratone Records, and he is here to tell us about his latest project.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, guys. So what I've been working on recently is a Fan Friday interview series with some of Clara's fans. So we'll bring in people to ask about their experiences with Clara, how they relate to their music, and then a little bit about the work that they're doing. So for example, the first episode we released was with Jeff Popka, who is big in the indie music industry and even created his own Texas Indie Fest that Clara was at a couple years ago. And so we just bring on people like that. We have a good time, like a brief 15-minute interview, and we just get to know them a little better.
How many interviews do you plan on doing?
As many as we can get. Because it is a Friday series, we're trying to do one a week, maybe one every other week, so we can highlight different people in between. But right now, we have another one coming out this coming Friday, and then we'll keep it rolling after that.
Thank you for being here, Alec, and now back to Marco and Clara.
Thanks for having me.
Clara, it's that time again. I won't put an easy spin on it, so I'll just ask, are musicians an exploited working class?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm not going to spin any more into that. Yes.
Yeah, I think just easy and concise just tells how concerning the problem is. Do you have any personal stories to share about that? Have you ever worked with like a musician lamenting that they were screwed over?
Oh, I've worked with many musicians who have a difficult time finding the time to do what they love because they're so poorly compensated for what they do. And I think, it trickles down from the fact that we, as cultures, the cultures that don't value art as part of life create this kind of problem, because to me, art is very important to the enjoyment of life, to the peace of the world. I mean, I could go on, but so yes, have I worked with musicians who are either struggling or talking about it? For sure. I also worked with, when this whole thing of, well, actually a few years ago, I found out that my music was for sale on all kind of ringtones sites. And I was like, okay, so, I couldn't even release an album. By the time it was released, there were people selling my music without my even asking me if I was okay with it. And so for a while, I did this thing where I had actually my attorney write a sample letter that I would, once a month, I would get on this thing and just call people. And it was amazing to me, the people who would answer the phone and actually make me prove that somehow this was my copyright. And I was like, well, wait a minute, you're using my music. So, and then I found out that, I could do this forever. I, as an independent musician, don't have the means or the time to actually fight that. And so it's even if I manage to have somebody say, oh yeah, we're removing your music that we turned into ringtones from our people that we're charging so that they can use your music. We're making the money off your music without your consent, but we'll remove it. But then the next minute, another site would spring up with those same ringtones and music. And one day, I mean, it's kind of a funny, not so funny story. I was, I found a video of somebody who had made, this young lady who had made a video about this soap opera star that she had a total crush on, and she was using one of my songs called Peaceful Solution, and I was like, I didn't like the it wasn't bad, but I didn't like the content of her video, right? So I reached out to her, and then I found out that it was actually a database in California, where I live, that had uploaded all this music from all these musicians, and they were actually a database that provided people with editing tools for videos. And they also said, hey, when you edit your video, here's some music you can use on your videos.
Oh, that's bad. Oh,
and I was like, where? And so I wrote to this database. They had all my albums for people to use as they wish. They hadn't even notified me, asked me, whatever. And so I got them to remove it. I said, and they did the same thing. Well, prove that you're the copyright owner. And I was like, no, you prove to me that anybody gave you permission. And and then this young lady, she didn't know what she was doing, but she wasn't too bright either, because she wrote back to me after saying how much she loved the song. She wrote back and said, I don't even have proof that it's you. And I'm like, okay, I'm sending you an email from Clara at clarabellino.com. You used my song from Clara Bellino. I think it's me.
Yeah, I mean, what's the likelihood that somebody's gonna make a scam email just
there was really
some poor girl into not even giving them money, just asking about a song?
I just asked her, I said, listen, you don't have to understand this whole thing, but I need you to take this down. And it could have been more offensive. It was just the principle of it. But that's where I kind of came in contact with, this young lady had no clue that there was anything wrong with what she was doing. She was just actually being offered by this service, here's music you can use. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's more the service that was at fault, actually.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, from scenarios like that, and from bigger companies cutting royalties however they want without following proper regulations, or industry giants just forcing even major artists to schedule a tour through their venues using their ticketing service, because if they use the competition they just get kicked out of the arenas. Should musicians try and build up a stand against this and try and screw over the whole industry, or should we try to compromise in a way that everybody gets to keep their job, everybody gets to get paid, the industry is still standing? Because remember, if we do take a stand and we take down the big bad guy, I mean, we're left without probably some big services, right?
Yeah, I think the idea is not to take everybody down. It is, though, to come to an understanding where, I mean, I've always thought that before this happened with the music business, meaning people get to, use all kinds of loopholes to use your music for free, is that the best. I've always looked, this is why I work with a team with you guys, but I've always thought of anybody because nobody can do anything alone, it's always been clear to me that, it's great to have a label behind you. It's great to have some PR behind you. It's great to work with a manager, because none of us can do it alone, but it works both ways. And so to me, the best outcome is that there be a regulated way that, when you use my music, I mean, I've put out albums where I do very few covers, but I was commenting about this the other day. I did a Tom Waits cover. As an independent musician, I found the publishing. I gave them what was the actually compulsory license to use his song on up to 2,000 units, because I was like, I'm not gonna, even though it probably would have fallen under the radar, right? But I'm like, if I'm gonna use this song, which I couldn't be recording unless it had been written by this person, I'm gonna do what is required of me to have the right to use it. And, for me as an independent artist, for my initial 2,000 albums, it wasn't that big a deal. It was $150 or whatever, but I found where they were and I send them the money, right? And I did that for every cover I've ever done. I think it needs to be regulated, because otherwise we won't be able to find the time to create music that is. And then, and also, you know, for the people who love music, that's why I always say, I mean, I've said to you guys in our new budding team here, it's like, whatever you do in the music business, if you're going to be involved with artists, my hope or encouragement is that you be involved in a partnership, you know? And so they're out of the fact that there's little money to be made as independent musicians. You know, there's people who say, why don't you go sell t-shirts on tour? It's like, if there was money in selling t-shirts, you would be selling t-shirts, okay? I mean, maybe there's money in selling special t-shirts, but it always cracks me up when people who, you know, ask artists for money up front for their services, then say, well, you could, you know, go on tour and sell t-shirts. It's like, why don't you sell t-shirts?
The truth from Clara Bellino. I think that's all the time we have for today.
Okay.
Let's give it back to the briefing room, I imagine.
Yes.
We'll talk again soon,
Yes,
right?
we will.
Yes?
Yes, we will. I look forward to it. And again, you know, if you'd like to hear us talk about something in particular, please send your suggestions to our Twitter feed at Claratone Records Team, and also hashtag Bellino Shots. And thank you, Marco, for your Marco Muner. Is that how you pronounce your name? You know, I've never asked you.
Oh, so it's Muner.
Muner.
No, yeah, nobody can. I can't. Nobody can pronounce it. It's a curse. It's
Well,
fine.
I'll approximate it at least. Marco Muner.
Yeah, kind of.
Kind of.
Everybody try and pronounce it yourself. See how that goes. All right. Thank you for your time, Clara.
Thank you, Marco, very much. It was
Talk to
fun.
you later.
Talk to you soon.
And that will be it for today.
You can catch our other episodes of the Bellino podcast on SoundCloud and YouTube. Thanks for listening and talk to you soon.